There. Okay, this has been a thing in progress, but um, this is, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it, and then I'll zoom out. So this was a practice, still is, a practice painting um, for different techniques on a different watercolor paper, um, using my older brushes and my some older colors, just so that I could sense how the paper worked on uh, how the new paper worked with the older stuff. So I have a lot of thoughts while I was learning new techniques and playing with color and doing flowers. And I titled it Summer Blooms. And I thought, it's not perfect. The painting isn't perfect. And I thought about tearing it up and throwing it out. And then I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll have fun with it. And so I asked my kids and my husband if anyone was interested in it, they could draw. I selected a number, and I selected a number, and I said, if anybody likes this, they can pick a number between 1 and 50, and who's ever closest gets to keep the picture. So, but I wanted to share this as well. So, summer blooms not so perfectly all the time. It blooms slowly. It blooms quickly. Leaves fall off the trees, blow in the yard, the storms come, the rains fall, hail, lightning. Everything happens fast in the summer. We think it's slow because we feel like the days are longer because there's more sunshine, but that's an illusion because there's 24 hours in a day. We consider that a day is has both light and dark in it, right? Day and nighttime. And we call nighttime darkness. But in those places of the world where the sun is not shining during a 24-hour period at all, or when it doesn't get dark at all for some reason, depending on where you are on the planet. So really, the number of days are 24 hours, we say, but that's a man-constructed thing. And so are the seasons are not constructed by man, but they were named by human beings. Winter, summer, spring, and fall. I love the seasons. I love them all. And for some plants, for everything, all 4 seasons are necessary. The weather changes are necessary. It's just interesting that everything isn't perfect. It wasn't created perfectly. Even human beings were not created perfectly. And so in our lifetime, so often there's this idea that we need to strive for perfection. And if it's not perfect, well, we'll just throw it out. And I wonder how often that affects our thoughts and our choices in life. Like, growing up as a young person, as a baby and a toddler, you never have this idea in your head at all that everything has to be perfect. You just are. You just be who you are growing up. Hair a mess, toothless, teeth coming in, falling out, clothes dirty, getting muddy, playing outside, falling down, getting hurt, getting lifted up, having your owies kissed and getting a hug, and then pretty soon you got to start obeying all these rules, and people start calling children naughty and bad and things like that. And then you get this sense that you can't be good enough. And some of the best advice I ever learned from my mom and from counselors is that you don't call the person naughty or the flowers bad just because you don't think they're perfect enough. Because life isn't about being perfect. Life is about loving who you are, loving others, loving the world around you. And that loving and appreciating does not require perfection. So think twice before you start throwing out people who you think aren't perfect. I don't have a perfect friend or a perfect spouse or a perfect boyfriend or not the perfect teacher. You know, sometimes it's the imperfections that teach us more about ourselves and who we are than it is what is perfect in the eyes of the world. We learn more about our own true character when we can start accepting imperfections in ourselves and other people. This striving for perfection, to be the perfect student, get the perfect grade, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do your best and to be your very best. But when a seed is planted and a flower grows, and the other, not every seed grows, right? You can plant a bunch of seeds and not all of them ever sprout out into being. And so if a flower doesn't look perfectly beautiful in your eyes, isn't it just beautiful that it survived having been encapsulated in something and being released and being planted and nourished through the weathers and the storms and the seasons and all the things that happen. Isn't it beautiful that summer blooms? But you know what? Somewhere there are things that bloom in the winter. And isn't that awesome too? And everything isn't perfect again. So that's just my thoughts. Just enjoy each day, enjoy your life. Let each day be like, picture that the Lord, that the Lord's arm and hand are holding the paintbrushes, and your life. He is, he's painting your life, the world around you, and let that word sink deep into your heart and soul and your mind. and appreciate who you are, who you were, who you are, and who you are still becoming. Because our season of blooming lasts a very long time. And some days the blooms look bright and beautiful and vibrant, and then they shrink back, and then another day comes and another bloom, like my hibiscus outside. Every day a new blossom appears and others fall off. It's just incredible. And they're all different and they're all beautiful. And it happens all summer long. And because that's where we live. When I bring it in the winter, it still does it, but it's kind of slower and not quite as vibrant. But I still love the plant and it still grows. So that's it. Stop striving for perfection. Just be happy that you're growing and you're learning. And remember that life is about appreciating yourself and other people and what you have to offer to the Lord and other people, and what He has given you, His life in Christ and His Spirit to carry on. And let the life and love and beauty of our Creator God flow in and through you, and stop worrying about being perfect. You are good enough.